Part and parcel to our adventures on Atheris is the dutyfinder, the tool by which we find other heroes to join us for dungeons and trials, and which has never led to any drama or conflict, ever. So, is the dutyfinder canon? Yes, kind of. It depends. If you're talking about the past, maybe. Talking in the present, yes, asterisk, and in the future, 100%. When it comes to the era before Shadowbringers, the dutyfinder was never particularly acknowledged, with vague insinuations of finding fellow adventurers by characters like Menphilia and Alice. Now, while that makes sense when it comes to a dungeon or two, it starts to get a little more funky when we look to Primal Fights, where anyone who joins us would have to have the Echo, lest they be tempered, or, making sense of being transported to another dimension by an Eorzean with no acknowledgement as to why we are suddenly surrounded by 7 other dudes and dudettes in armor. Sometimes it's easy to hand-wave it all away, with the idea that fellow C-tier scions of the 7th Dawn are joining us. But often, the whole situation is left unexplained. They do, however, go some way to explain why we have fellow heroes joining us as we dive into the Alliance raids. But even within one arc, the whole thing makes more or less sense. For instance, during the Crystal Tower, we draw on adventurers to help us explore the Labyrinth of the Ancients. With the long history of the Sons of St. Koinak hiring help, and the nearby Rising Stones, gathering 20-some heroes makes sense, sure, but how said crew ended up following us into the World of Darkness is pretty mystifying, especially with their lack of appearance during cutscenes. This all changes in Shadowbringers when we're introduced to the magic of Azum, their Convocation Stone, and the corresponding use and awareness of said magics, that allow us and them to call allies to our side at will. This thematically also makes the dutyfinder a meaningful tool, since we are inheritors of currently 9/14ths of Azum's soul, and the spiritual successor to their role as the Traveler. It is our bonds that tie us to others that give us our greatest strength. This, with the trust system mixed in for good measure, effectively makes the dutyfinder canonic from Shadowbringers onwards, save for the first 2 trials, which make a form of sense if you tilt your head and squint hard. We also have examples of shades being summoned to act as our allies as an explanation for our player support in Pandemonium, showing a consistent trend towards making the finder's use canonical. But what about the future? Well, 6.1 has begun the process of adding the duty support system retroactively, adding what amounts to the trust system to all the dungeons and trials over time. This makes some version of the dutyfinder canonical, though in a strict sense we'd have to assume it was these NPCs rather than players, at least for specific trials and some dungeons. So, has the dutyfinder made sense with players all the time? 12's no. Is the writing team trying their damnedest to make it work currently? 12's yes. And that about wraps things up. Oh, and if you're wondering about my current getup compared to my usual look, I seem to have suffered a horrible Fantasia accident that has left me scarred and deformed. And thus, the helmet and full body armor. It should clear up in a few days. Hopefully? And now I'm off to go wait in queue as my life force slowly drains away, and knowing my luck, 5 Gil says it's Sastasha again. Come on. Thal's balls! This content was brought to you by the Eorzean Archives. If you enjoyed this video, help us please the 12 by leaving a like and subscribing for new content every Thursday. And comment down below with any topic you'd like to see our archons cover in the future. For even more content, discussion, and exclusives, please check out our Discord and consider supporting us on Patreon.